That's right, guys. We're back with Game 2 of Virtus.Pro versus Team Liquid. I'm very excited to get into this match, especially after what was a pretty entertaining Game 1 with a very, very interesting Drow Ranger pickup from Virtus.Pro that countered the Luna beautifully going into the mid-game. So, guys, let's go ahead and get into Game 2. Don't forget, guys, I forgot to mention, but we do have Dota 2 Lounge rares to give away. I know some of you guys have been just aching for it. That's right. Every single day, we're going to have more rares to give away. We do have another 3 codes to give away, so I'm going to give one away if this series ends at Game 2. We're going to go ahead and give it away here. If not, we're going to get it at the end of the series. So when everything is wrapping up, we'll give one away live on the stream right here. And the other 2 will be given away on my Twitter at Dota Capitalist and also on Aaron's Twitter. Whoa. At Ayesee. Anyway, guys, let's get into it as we already have the draft underway. I can welcome in my play-by-play man for today is going to be Ayesee. Ayesee, oh no, did I lose you, buddy? Oh,
you sure didn't. Don't worry. Don't worry. Just I was the Dota TV folks heard me. I actually just forgot to unmute my voice over IP connection view. So those things happen, but hopefully the mic's sounding okay. We were having some Skype connection issues earlier. The net here has actually been a little bit hit and miss, and I did go ahead and play with the volume. Apparently, I was a little loud in Dota TV, and it's kind of hard to get all the things to jive, but we'll hope and certainly be free. Feel free to get in touch, and hopefully everything's going to be fine. But you know what? Enough about that. Whether you can hear me clearly or not, you can certainly see Disruptor picked up very early by Virtus.Pro, and that's a fun pickup if ever I've seen one. That's a hero who's received a buff or 2, has certainly been given a bit more scalability into the late game with Aghanim Scepter and Static Storm. And Virtus.Pro really just sticking with what works. They had good play out of Jodam on the Crystal Maiden in Game 1 and going once again for a control kind of a lineup. Bane is still available for them if they want to try to pick that up. Don't know what they do with him, though, as Disruptor Crystal Maiden, one would imagine, is going to be their 2 supports. But being able to deal with the Lifestealer, pretty big deal in and of its own right. Liquid, though, they're going to give Bulba his Beastmaster now. Tinker is still available as well, and we have seen some very, very fun stuff done by Team Liquid with a Tinker Beastmaster pickup and a Lifestealer. In fact, you and I have seen it multiple times here in the D2CL already, just infesting the Lifestealer into a Tinker, using the Beastmaster's Hawk to teleport to, even getting Boots of Travel up on Bulba's Beastmaster, and suddenly you have this gigantic 3-man gank squad with an immense amount of burst and a great single target lockdown that goes through Magic Immunity. Makes it very difficult. It's kind of, you can't even call it like a poor man's IO pick, to be honest. If you can run it as effectively as Liquid has of late, it's even better than some of the IO picks we've seen. Like when you watch Fnatic run like IO Tiny, it's excellent. But honestly, I'm a little bit more scared of Team Liquid and what they can do with the Tinker, Lifestealer, and Beastmaster. But Virtus.Pro gonna make the fans rejoice, picking up that Ember Spirit in 4th position.
Yeah, you know, this is so looking back on Team Liquid and how they run that whole Boots of Travel strategy, it goes into late game better than I would have thought it did. Even if you're not off to a great start, they're still able to make it work. So looking back on that lineup, I had to kind of like really think about how you're going to be able to deal with that. Now, mobility is obviously a big thing when dealing with that kind of gank strategy. However, with the Beastmaster leading with that stun, a little bit questionable. You can't necessarily rely on Blink Daggers. So, you know, picking a mobile lineup can help, but it's also big thing is being able to maintain that vision. You need to be able to, I think counter ganking is a big thing, really punishing the attempts to gank. And an early Disruptor pick, whether Virtus.Pro intended to or not, is going to be strong against this kind of mobile lineup of Liquid, that global ganking strategy where they teleport onto the Hawk. Disruptor will be a strong support up against that if they can have the proper amount of control of the map to really be able to see what's going on with those sort of ganks. I don't think that they have really, really good, like the second time we saw this lineup from Team Liquid, it was shut down very, very early, and that helped, but it still didn't. Obviously, we saw that game go into late, and Team Liquid were still able to form a really, really good response. So Virtus.Pro, I'm kind of concerned here because they don't have enough early game, but what they do have is a really good, highly mobile lineup with the Batrider and Ember Spirit, and they've also got the Disruptor, who is traditionally very, very good against any sort of Blink or Boots of Travel strategy.
Yeah, and I think you really just said the important word here, mobile. Virtus.Pro has a lot of mobility. They have Disruptor who can glimpse a target back. I mean, if you have a Lifestealer, Beastmaster, etc., try to teleport in, off the Boots of Travel, he can just pick one of those targets and send them back via glimpse. On top of that, you have Ember Spirit, notoriously hard to track down. And, you know, we're yet to see exactly where that Ember Spirit's going to run. We've been seeing him mostly out of the one position, but he can be an effective mid, especially when you're anticipating a mid Beastmaster. If you certainly Virtus.Pro knows Team Liquid and has done their homework. That's something they might even want to explore doing. And they're actually going to get a Morphling. So, yeah, it looks like it will be a mid-Ember Spear. And with Illidan farming up the Morphling, truth be told, though, Morphling could also go mid, too. So they certainly have their options available to them. But with a Bat Rider who's almost certainly going to build a Blink Dagger, Ember Spirit who's tough to track down, Morphling can be tough to track down because of the mobility the waveform grants you. They match up pretty damn good against Team Liquid. And now, you know, this honestly could just be an anticipation draft out of VP, saying, you know what, we know what Team Liquid likes to do in Game 2s of series and what we've seen them do in Game 2s throughout a lot of their D2L play. We're just going to grab a Disruptor right off the bat and just have that answer, have the ability to try and not only counteract it, but to punish it. I mean, when you talk about Kinetic Field, Static Storm, etc., they have the chance, if they break their lineup up correctly, and so long as they stay on par and levels and everything else, to not only deal with it, but to just flat out counter it. And yeah, I mean, looking at who's rolling out, it will be Illidan on the Morph, and it will be the Ember Spirit in mid. Love this decision from him. I think it makes so much sense, and God is going to be able to play a very gank-centric style with this Ember Spirit if he wants to.
Yeah, this is something that's been theory crafted a lot, but we haven't really been seen it put into place a whole lot just yet. Is that Ember Spirit has been run carry when we have seen him many times, but not very often do we see him in the mid role, even though every single professional player has said, yes, he can be very aggressive ganking style hero that, whether it's a carry or in the mid role, can put a lot of pressure in that 20 to 25 minute mark. So I'm interested to see how God is really going to be running this, but it's smart laning. Morphling, I like this draft in general. Just Morphling being able to also provide a lot of mobility. You look at the 3 cores, they're going to have, Liquid are going to have a very tough time finding and locking down those heroes. However, they do have this lineup, this Boots of Travel lineup. They have the Tinker who eventually picks up Blink Dagger at Scythe of Vice. You have Beastmaster who grabs sometimes a Blink Dagger is an option for him, but an Aghanims, that long range initiation from his ultimate. They have a lot of instant stuns that just because you're very mobile doesn't mean you're going to be able to escape this constant pressure. So being able to keep up that vision is going to be very important, but the biggest thing for me is going to be watching middle and how Ember Spirit fares. Now, he's going up against a melee hero. This is great. Now, the physical damage coming out, Wild Axes being composite, he won't be able to dodge that physical part of the damage with the Flame Guard, if I believe calling back to Dota 1 Ember Spirit is correct, but already getting very aggressive on Bulba. Nope. Ayesee, I believe I lost you. I'm going to give you a call back real quick. That was, sorry guys, we were having some audio issues. We're having a very, we tried to go ahead and reset the call because we were having some issues in game 1. Ayesee, you there? Ah, damn it. You're very quiet. And I'm not entirely sure why.
How about that?
It's still a little quiet.
So far as this is going.
Oh, there we go. All of a sudden, it's back to normal.
Okay, I didn't touch anything, so that's definitely a voice over IP issue. But regardless, we saw a little bit of action, but no first blood on the board. Thankfully, we didn't miss a whole lot of anything, and looks like I'm going through clear on Dota TV as well. So don't you just love whenever you have to do voice calls across many oceans? Always a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's tough, but. Yeah, it looks like Liquid running the normal thing, which is a Lifestealer off lane, Beastmaster in the mid, and then their defensive Trine lane where they're trying to get Koifa up, that very fast Boots of Travel. And possibly even, I mean, it's already been blocked out by Virtus.Pro, but it's just a counterboard. You may even see Bulba with his early levels middle, may even stack up Ancients more around the 8 to 10 minute mark, just being able to give Tinker a couple more options when it comes to that farm.
Oh, yeah. And take a look at early CS. We can see God in great shape. Using his Flame Guard just to not only melt waves and push waves as he wants to free up runes, but to zone out Bulba. I mean, it's very difficult as a melee hero to want to come anywhere near that to even try to last hit. And you only have so much mana, even with a bottle, and you don't want to spend it all just trying to axe down creeps. He is staying in range, though. It's 11-9 in terms of pure CS at the moment. So right now, I think both heroes are going to be quite happy with the way that's going. TC here, we didn't really talk a whole lot about this on this offlane Lifestealer, and this is is not something you see all that often anymore. I mean, generally speaking, you see, you see him mostly as a carry position player. I mean, this is going back to like even 2012, whenever you would see teams like LGD International at that state of the game really run this a lot. But it can be effective, but it just goes to show you how very intensely focused Liquid is on Koikva and making sure he has a good start in his performance. NS actually taking some damage, but TC faring well in experience, not the best in CS though, just 5 for him.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is both lanes, both off lanes should do okay, and the carries will have free farm. It's this middle lane that Virtus.Pro have a big advantage because melee versus melee, Ember Spirit excels at going up against. Even if the composite damage coming into play, you know, he still takes a little bit of damage going through that Flame Guard. It doesn't matter. He's going to be able to beat that easily with the damage over time coming out from Flame Guard, and Beastmaster having to get close sometimes unless he's throwing axes for every single CS. He's going to have to come in melee range, and that's when God pops that damage over time and gets aggressive, and that Searing Chains is a perfect ability in lane up against other melees. So God should have a big advantage in this lane, and it's beginning to show in the CS where God has a couple extra denies and he's leading in just regular last hits. So far the lane's faring very, very well for him, but I like the way Smile's dealing with this. He actually just interrupted the pull coming out from Liquid and got at least half of the experience, and I believe he picked up a couple last hits from there as well. So this early bottle seems to be working out pretty well for him, and now can pick up boots from the side shop if he wants.
Yeah, and at level 3 now, he has the option. He might wait for level 4, but he can dip into the jungle to make up for his loss of gold, and that really won't be that big of a deal. I mean, when you look at Liquid, I mean, in theory, Tinker is a push hero, but early on, I mean, he's about to be level 6. He has yet to place points, by the way. Has 2 points in the laser. Has a bunch more banked up to decide what he wants to do with them, if he's going to go pure gank or if he's going to go ahead and put a lot into March of the Machines. And it's just really smart to leave his options open when you're playing this kind of a style Tinker. But they don't have a lot of right-click push, especially with way too sub 6. So in terms of Smile being able to bail out of this if he wants to, he can and go into the jungle. And basically, it'll be Fluff that'll be the engineer of a lot of push. So as soon as they see Fluff come into lane, he simply comes back and should be able to join up with some teammates and defend the towers. So I feel like the laning phase right now, even though we see a little bit of a lack in CS for Illidan, he's made up some ground, now sitting at 25. I do feel like Virtus.Pro is probably a little bit happier than Liquid is with the way it's going so far, but it all comes down to the execution of that gimmick that Liquid has built with the Tinker, Lifestealer, and Beastmaster. Here comes the push now, and we'll see if they're actually going to react. Fluff using the Wildkin to use the Tornado to help zone this out, and we see Koikva did finally place his points, 3 immediately into March of the Machines. And yeah, they're going to go ahead and just force Liquid to take this tower right now.
Yeah, what I love about Liquid right now is that not only they're pushing that tower, but TC, because of the fact that he knows he's dealing with Crystal Main, who's going to be jungling a lot, but Morphling, who doesn't have a ton of lane presence, and then the Disruptor, who can do very, very little against the Lifestealer, he's getting very, very aggressive. I love this. Early boots into an Orb of Venom. This is really punishing NS. Every single time NS comes forward and tries to throw down a Thunder Strike and a couple of auto attacks, TC just turns on him, and you may even see an early First Blood come in the way of TC with the way he's playing. In fact, he's going to find NS in the jungle right now.
Yep, NS forced the TP away. And we can see the Boots of Travel already done on Koikva. Here in mid, taking a look at the CS, we can see Bulba's actually hung quite well. So, you know, with Illidan unable to effectively zone out TC, and here comes God to try and help out. Oh, the rage right on time. God's going to go ahead and, yep, stay right with him, though. They're going to be able to get a nice kill there. And First Blood actually ends up going to Illidan as well. So the laning phase following the death of that Tier 1, I was actually surprised Virtus.Pro didn't rotate down to try and defend it. Death of that Tier 1, I felt like Liquid was going to be in much better shape, but now giving up a death on TC, that's going to slow things up a little bit. Koikva in good shape with Boots of Travel up short of 7 minutes. In fact, had him up around 6. Puts them in great shape, but a lot is riding on his performance here in this game. NS, in the meantime, has headed bottom. He'll be hooking up with Smile to try and make something happen.
Yeah, they can, if they want to, try and get a little aggressive in the jungle, but I'm not quite sure if they can do that much with just a Disruptor as your other hero. He's not really a strong support in any sort of skirmish engagements. Like, he's good at picking off heroes with Glimpse pre-level 6, but it's only until you have your Static Storm that you're really a bit more combat-oriented on the Disruptor. So, for now, I think 2 different things could happen. Both the offlaners can abandon their lanes. Like, now that Tinker has a Boots of Travel, if they want, if they want to make sure that TC gets a little bit of extra farm, they can go ahead and have the Tinker just kind of moving around the map with the Boots of Travel, farming up jungle, farming up Ancients, do what a Tinker does with the Boots of Travel. He doesn't have to sit there in that bottom lane, and they can ensure Lifestealer some farm, but God's in some trouble middle.
Here in mid, roar onto God and burst it down. So Liquid makes their way onto the board with a very, very nice return kill. Being able to slow down God, and this is the thing about the mid Ember Spirit. I mean, traditionally, well, I shouldn't even say traditionally, just since he's been patched into the game and allowed in captain's mode, we've seen him mostly run from the 1 position in professional games. Running him out of mid, you can play ultra aggressive, but of course, it's the same story as with any mid. You have to make sure you don't give up too many deaths. Stay ahead of the game in terms of, at least in levels. Even if you fall behind a bit in gold, you can make up for that with individual performance, so long as you're a smidge over leveled compared to most of the map. Being picked off like that in mid, though, does slow you down quite a bit. He is still tops on the board, but Quakefuzz right there with him, as is Bulba and Illidan. And this is just one of the weaknesses that, balances out the strength of a Morphling. Morphling can carry like all hell, and we'll see if he decides to go with a shotgun build. It actually looks like it's going to be a Ring of Health up early, so perhaps on his way to a Lincoln Sphere, and that's really the most typical defensive item to pick up early on a Morph. But it takes a long time for him to really begin to have an influence on the map. I mean, he can show up, pour out a little bit of damage with the waveform and a little bit of right-click here and there, but it takes a while for this hero to develop, and that gives Liquid an opening. That puts a lot of pressure on the Virtus.Pro, and in particular on the play of God.
Yeah, this is something Liquid do have, sort of unintentionally, they have some decent spells going up against an Ember Spirit. They have good lockdown, which is always the norm for their build, but they're going to go on NS here.
And there you go. Shown right off the bat, and the reaction just not there. God going to try to track him down. TC will be forced to rage rather, and he got 2. He got Quickfire and Fluff. Hand of God popped by Fluff. That's going to buy a little bit of time, but not disjoint the inevitable. And that's a big win. If they can do that every time Liquid tries to get cute with the Boots of Travel, they're going to win this game by a mile. Being able to bring down Quakefuzz plus Fluff as well, very nice reaction, and that is why that Ember Spirit pick matters so much. That's what he can do, and it's not, his item development is very slow. He's only got arcs and a bottle and a wand, but just the strength of a hero in terms of counter-engaging, having the lockdown of the Searing Chains and the damage output, the damage over time, well played by them, and a nice return gank.
Yeah, they, I think Liquid kind of got a little too aggressive there and weren't really counting on the, again, the Morphling and the Ember Spirit. Very, very mobile heroes that are able to, go towards those ganks and actually get there in time. That was just a beautiful setup by Ember Spirit in his pursuit of the 2 squishier heroes. I think they just kind of got a little too aggressive, but normally I would be saying, oh no, that was the first failed gank and that sort of thing. But seeing Liquid the second game we saw this and how they got off to a pretty bad start and were still able to make this comeback, I'm not concerned at all for Liquid right now, just because they're looking so good. And when it comes to just the overall gold, they're actually leading by about 750. Experience, they're slightly behind, but having a good start like this and looking at all their heroes, like TC right now is farming up bottom while they had way too stacking up Ancients. So they've got like all these really good recovery mechanisms. It's so hard to shut down a Tinker who has this early Boots of Travel because he's able to utilize, not only do they have stacking up Ancients, but they also have the best jungle for a Tinker, which is the Radiant jungle, where you can farm up 3 different camps at once when Chen isn't using it. So they've got really, really good ways to keep ahead in farm, even if they do make some errors like that. So Virtus.Pro, though, I like this. They're getting aggressive. They're smoking up. They're not just letting Liquid set the terms for every single engagement.
And if they can make this happen, Fluff, again, the term is super dead. They actually missed him with the the Searing Chains. Not going to matter as they do manage to clean him up securely without a problem. And they were anticipating the potential Boots of Travel reaction out of Liquid. That was the reason for the ultimate there. But NS just playing it safe, and they secure themselves a kill. I was just going to say, he was getting close to a mech. I mean, he's not terribly far off. Has 1,200 gold banked away at the moment. But the issue, if there is one issue I have with Liquid's lineup, is that there's not a lot of, when you talk about what they're going to want to do, I mean, this is built around a gimmick. It's a very effective gimmick, make no mistake. But with the Chen, Chen tends to fit into a guns forward kind of a lineup, and Liquid can transition to that, especially with the Visage there. The Visage support pick gives them the ability to start just marching down lanes if they want. but they're a little bit split in their attentions right now. I mean, they're trying to make things happen with the Beastmaster, the Lifestealer, and the Tinker. And so far, Chen, every time he's kind of moved out at all, he's just been picked off and punished. And they're not getting a whole lot out of Fluff, even though he got off to a decent start, sitting at level 7. And again, Arc Boot's already up and good progress towards a mechanism. So I'm interested to see how Liquid's going to begin to incorporate him a bit more. And this is not good for them at all. Bulba picked off in his own jungle as well. And as of right now, a team that was drafted so they can control the pace of the game is just flat out being outpaced as VP opens up a lead 5-2.
Yep, Virtus.Pro kind of using their Bat Rider with the Ember Spirit. Basically, they're kind of faster paced heroes that like to go for pickoffs. Ember Spirit especially as a mid ganker, even as a 1, can be run really, really aggressively right now because you lose very, very little time in your attempts because you just saw, like, they got a pickoff. God was a little low, wanted to be able to pick up his drums and that sort of thing. So he just, throws down one of those remnants, teleports back to base. He lost maybe 10 seconds there and going back to base, full healing. And now they're ready to go again. Like, smoke up. Dude, we just had a smoke. It was just a minute and a half ago that they ganked up the Chen, and then they just ganked up a Bat Rider. Now they're going again. 3 different ganks in basically the time of 2 minutes is very, very fast paced. But Virtus.Pro, it fits their style. They're going to go for it once again. This time they're going to go for TC. They do have to kind of beware of that Rage teleport, which is going to be a slight issue for them.
They did manage to catch him with the Searing Chains, and TC just going to teleport out. They don't have the damage to bring him down, but they should be able to take a run at this tower off of that. I mean, he had to go home, so no quick way for him to get back into the mix. They've already got 4 down here, and Smile, with his Blink Dagger up, makes it very difficult to even try to come in to contest this at this stage, especially with NS there as well. If you try to TP in, he can send you right back to the fountain or from whence you came elsewise. In the meantime, a little bit of a pressure being put on the Illidan, but he should be just fine. He's level 11, heads out. TC picks up a Midas coming out at 14 minutes. Not the worst timing in the world, but honestly, the Midases don't matter nearly as much, I don't think, as them getting a lot out of ganking from here on forth. I mean, right now, Virtus.Pro is just in utter, complete control of the pace of this game, and that just can't be the status quo. They need to start getting more out of Koikva, and they have to start getting more out of TC.
Yeah, what I like about smoke ganks are so important for Virtus.Pro because it's the same thing that it was for last game in that Liquid have this lineup that are able to set up for any sort of pushes. So Virtus.Pro, if they're staying ahead of the game, if they're smoking up, not only is it important for them picking off heroes on Liquid, but also the positioning that they have. Able to get onto the Tier 1 tower before Tinker is able to set up with that March spam. That was the whole reason they were able to get that Tier 1 tower, is there wasn't a clear opening for Koikva to get in there and throw down that March to the machine. So smoke is not only just important for pickoffs here, but also for taking and trading any sort of towers that VP want, because as it stands right now, especially with the Chen coming into play, like I think Liquid with the Chen pickup, it allows them to be able to push in towers without necessarily having a presence there. So they can constantly keep in, this constant pressure with Koikva moving around, pushing in lanes, but also being there to defend. And then you've got the Chen creeps that are pushing forward as well, as they took middle tower earlier. Those sort of things are going to allow them to push and defend at the same time. So Virtus.Pro and their movement around the map, I think an early gem for them would be pretty important, because not only is vision important for them, stopping and being able to counter gank Liquid's attempt to TP around the map globally, but also their movement is just important in not letting Liquid know where they're going for, where they're smoke ganking, where their push is going to occur before all of a sudden they're in lane, they're at your tier 2 taking it, and you don't have a way to be able to teleport and set up for the defense.
Now, speaking of smokes, we're seeing so much of it this game, and that's really what you would anticipate. Koikva, he just blinked, and they actually didn't catch it. And trying to find him, just avoiding March of the Machines for right now. Thought they might try to pick him off there if they could have. Instead, he's able to make it back to safety. But Virtus.Pro actually has their smokes on cooldown for the next 6 minutes. They've smoked so much, and Team Liquid certainly being active in their own right as well. And both of these teams beginning to play a bit of a frantic, hairs on fire kind of a match. And this is really what both have drafted for. Taking a look at the overall gold graph, though, this is going the way of Team Liquid. Virtus.Pro had it moving in their direction, almost down to the 0 line at their best. But as of right now, Liquid's being more efficient across the map. They've got 3,000 gold ahead of their opponents, and the experience that was heavily in favor of Virtus.Pro has been cut down to a marginal amount as well. So Virtus.Pro, despite having the kill lead, beginning to lose some of that momentum they picked up early with those strong counter ganks.
Yeah, the last two smokes haven't really been that effective for Virtus.Pro. Last one was a complete whiff, and the one before that, they didn't get the lifestealer, so it was kind of a wash. They got a tier 1 tower, but at the same time, Liquid have this lineup that's going to be able to threaten a lot of towers. You're not going to get a tower advantage off of this away from Liquid. So Liquid are looking really, really good right now. The big saving grace is going to be this Morphling, though, is that Illidan is going to be able to split push a lot in order to, it won't directly counter, but it'll kind of help them mitigate some of the advantage that Liquid is going to get off of tier 2 towers falling. They'll be able to pick up some towers here and there, but Morphling as a hard carry going into the late game is going to be able to provide a significant impact.
Here we go. Glimpse to start this fight. TC's there. Gets lassoed back. Cog right there as well, and that's a big turnaround off of a big play from NS. Glimpsed one target, but it was a 2-for, my friend. 2-for-1 special in this bottom lane as NS managed to glimpse back the Beastmaster and happened to have the lifestealer inside as well. And the only option they had was to try to fight it out from that point. I mean, he was going to be revealed as soon as Bulba died anyway. But because of that, 2 big kills, that takes them off the board and allows them to take a run at Roshan. So well played by NS, and in both games, his play has just been phenomenal on very, very important positional heroes in the Bane and the Disruptor and getting the job done.
Yeah, now because of that, they're going to be able to pick up Roshan, which is huge. Getting in an early shotgun, I think, for Illidan is going to be really, really key.
No, I agree with you 100%. Like, Illidan's item development is actually really good right now. We're short of 20 minutes. He already has Bassy Treads and his Lincoln Sphere. He's about to, I don't know if they're going to give him the Aegis. Probably, nope, they will give it to him. I was going to say they might end up giving it to the Ember Spirit, but instead it'll be Illidan just making sure he can stay safe. He can farm a little bit more aggressively. But now the pressure really is on Team Liquid. They have to begin make it, we always use this term, make things happen. I mean, they're forcing movement, they're moving well, but it's kind of the story of game 1. Their trades were just never all that much in their favor. They were able to get themselves into a gold lead, but just because they were more efficient. You have a Boots of Travel Tinker who's just going to keep every lane pushed and is going to make sure you maintain a good amount of map control. But whenever they are fighting, they are just being a little bit outplayed. There's really no other word for it. Virtus.Pro in game 1 and now into game 2, just doing a better job of capitalizing on opportunities.
Yep, you could already see how Illidan is playing this right now. It's very, very aggressive because he knows he has to, with that Linken's, it's going to be able to stop the single target initiation, whether it's the ult coming out from Beastmaster or it's the Scythe of Vice inevitable pickup from Koifa. He's going to be able to have that slight heads up where he'll be able to jump away to his illusion or waveform out. They've also picked up an early gem, which is controlling the map right now. That was also very, very good. So being able to take away some of those opportunities where they have vision in the enemy jungle and seeing Virtus.Pro farming up the neutrals, that was completely taken away by the early gem pickup. So Virtus.Pro countering this every way they can. I'm still not confident, though, because even if we have an early shotgun up on Morphling and he's able to start one-shotting some of these heroes, like the Tinker, like the Beastmaster, it's all going to come down to initiation. And Liquid, if they have the initiation, if they're able to get the Scythe of Vice off or the Primal Roar off on one of those important targets, you know they're going to be able to control the team fight from there, because Koifa's Tinker is simply amazing. And the things he can do going into late game with the Tinker are just astonishing to watch. The amount of control he offers his team with that I can't even say, oh, look, Virtus.Pro have a Morphling, they've got the late game. You know, that was completely ruined by the last game we watched, where Liquid didn't necessarily have the optimal late game heroes, and yet we're still able to take it late because of the way that Koifa played his Tinker, which just simply outplayed a Na'Vi very, very well. So I don't know. I'm kind of questioning if Virtus.Pro do actually have an advantage right now, despite the fact that I think they're doing everything right they can to be able to counter Liquid's strategy.
Yeah, you know, as casters, we so often focus in on, you know, where things are and what we think that extrapolates to. You know, how we think things are going to go, which team is going to have this advantage for whatever reason. Honestly, this has the feel of that kind of game where you go, you know what? It's just going to come down to how they execute. Like, it really, as of right now, there are tools on both sides to make things happen in a variety of ways. I mean, you can continue to try and split the map up if you're Liquid. You can continue to try and push for a late game and just get your Tinker huge. Hang on, way too about to get lassoed back. And, yep, they will go ahead and spend it just to secure the easy kill. And showed him. It's a little bit of overkill there, but they got the job done. That's a pretty long cooldown on that as well. But nonetheless, just to finish the point, I mean, both teams have plenty of tools to disjoint what the other team wants to do. When you look at the gold, again, still maintains in Liquid's favor, but not hugely, about 3,000, so certainly noticeable, but not the end of the world. The experience, though, slightly in favor of Virtus.Pro as well. TC has finally picked up an armlet, though, so that's going to help their combat potential quite a bit. But so much of this is going to come down to just who plays better in the team fights, because eventually these two teams are going to start to run into each other as 5-bans, and whichever team's able to communicate and able to execute better is likely to be the team that comes out on top, at least through the mid-game.
Mm-hmm. Right now, we're probably going to see a Tier 1 tower fall. They don't have any way to stop Illidan. Like, Illidan just runs forward, he has a Linken's, and he has Aegis even if he has to. He's going to have the heads up to just be able to jump to his replicate. So again, he's going to be able to recover a lot of that ground. Now, a Desolator is up on their Ember Spirit, so that's a big damage-dealing item, but it's still not that nice semi-carry Ember Spirit we're hoping to see. He's going to need another big item, probably like something like a Daedalus, straight off that before he's looking really good. But, oh no, Illidan just found Koikva.
Oh, and Koikva actually pops the laser on his Lincoln Sphere, and Koikva able to blink away after the rearm, staying cool under pressure, and yeah, we're actually going to see the Morphling decide, yeah, that's not a battle he needs to take as he recalls to his replicates. So did spot out Koikva, but unable to get him. And Koikva's just such a good player. He's so fun to watch on Tinker in particular, just because he plays frantic when he needs to, but just kind of calmly extricated himself from a bad situation there. Well played.
Yeah, throwing down the laser and then hitting the Scythe of Ice was a very, very important decision that he made there, just to make sure he didn't get popped. Having that bit of disable forced Illidan to try and pursue with waveform, and then his replicate was going to run out. He doesn't want to be stranded on the other side of the map. But another thing that Koikva has done that's really, really smart, look at this. This counter ward, amazing. Yeah. How many times do you see a team go, we have to stop our own Ancients from spawning? That's because Koikva is constantly, he always has a Visage Familiar or a Hawk somewhere in this vicinity where not only is he farming up Ancients, but he's also pushing in that bottom lane constantly. That's the beauty of this lineup. It's not just good against 4 Protect 1 where you're trying to pop somebody. Illidan may be in a bit of trouble here, though, at bottom.
Has his Lincoln's pop, follow up Scythe of Ice, and they hex him twice and get the Aegis. That Aegis was very nearly expiring. Now here comes, Smile caught with a Scythe of Ice now, and Illidan going to try to waveform out, and Smile caught with the Soul Assumption from long range. And Fluff able to use, actually was caught back. There's the glimpse back, and using the Static Storm and Kinetic Field to secure at least one return kill. That's a nice trade for Liquid, at least as of right now. They're going to go ahead and get Fluff's creeps out of the exchange too, though. And we'll see if they decide to try and do anything else off of that. Losing the Aegis on Illidan, again, not the biggest deal. In fact, they got it just as it was going to expire. So not to the end of the world, but they did end up getting Smile out of it as well. So not too bad.
Yeah, I think Smile did the right thing there. Is what Illidan was caught out, and he tried to run interference. So he took a Scythe of Ice. You know, it's something small. If they just left Illidan there's a good chance he was going to instantly get disabled up and taken down a second time. So he just tries to run interference and dies for it, but he still got Illidan out. So best thing he could possibly hope for. I love the fact that TC, he's beginning to farm up a little bit more, seeing as he was off lane. Obviously, that's not the greatest lane to start out in, but he's beginning to catch up to the Ember Spirit now. We've got Koikva, who's still staying ahead of a Morphling, which is pretty impressive. It just goes to show how well Koikva's playing in being able to utilize the jungle and Ancients and every other lane pretty much to be able to maximize his farm, because Illidan has had a great game. Like, he's just kind of sat back and farmed the whole entire time. He is yet to die. You know, it's very hard to keep up to that kind of hero. But Fluff gets caught out in the jungle, just blown up.
Yeah, there used to be a chin there. Now it's just a stain that happens to be on fire because, you know, it's not enough that you just shotgun his face off. Got to make sure you set him on fire, too. But another nice pickup. And, you know, that Midas pickup on him, you know, taking a look at what he's going after with the Ultimate Orb pickup, they know they need lockdown desperately against this Virtus.Pro squad. So getting the Midas up and wanting to get up another Scythe of Ice to go with all of the other lockdown they have, certainly the right call to make. But he's quite some ways away from it right now. And again, the items developing on Virtus.Pro are coming out fairly quickly. God has even picked up a BK, or on his way to a BKB, he's picked up an Ogre Club. And Roche will actually be respawning really, really soon as well. So Fluff will be up for that, but this is going to be a relatively short respawn timer. And this next Roshan could end up determining a lot. I mean, Bulba has his scepter up, so they have the initiation they need. And TC is actually well on his way to a Basher. Should have it up very, very soon in time for the next Roshan.
Yep, a lot of big items are coming up. I think I give Liquid a bit of an advantage going into late game, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, even with the Morphling, because Liquid are used to running this lineup, right? They've practiced this. They know to what extent what they can do going into late game. I'm not so sure that Virtus.Pro are as addressed with this lineup as Liquid are. So I do give them a bit of advantage, but VP are still finding a lot of good pickups, and this Morphling is looking very, very scary. You know, it's kind of just like this overkill of the elements right now. When they find a poor Chen, is they drown him with Morphling, right? And they freeze him with Crystal Maiden, and then they blow him up with the Bat Rider. It's just like these poor squishy support heroes can do nothing. But that's why these two support heroes are very, very important to the lineup. Hold up, we have action at top.
I'll get Koikfa here. No, unable to bring him down, and playing very, very cautiously there. Was not going to overcommit to that, and not happy about not being able to get the kill. NS, though, that's not your base, NS, and they're going to get the Courier as well. That's extremely unfortunate. The Courier didn't have anything on it. It just dropped some things off, so... But off of that, Virtus.Pro, this is Chansey moving right into the Roche pit. Illidan, though, with a double damage rune, might just be able to bring him down. Oh, this actually makes up for that so well. Thought Liquid might actually make a rush for it, but didn't see Illidan had the double damage until I noticed Roche suddenly had no health. As it stands, though, a nice way to try and mitigate what you just lost there, losing the Courier and NS. But to just come back around to your point about the advantage, which team has the advantage as we get later into this game. Coming up on 30 minutes, I agree with you. I think it's Liquid. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Liquid has, look at the map control. I mean, as of right now, only 2 towers brought down by Virtus.Pro. And with them able to shut down Liquid's ganking lineup and try to free space for Illidan, they should have translated that into a better lead. They should have had translated that into a gold lead as well as a map control lead. And that just hasn't been the case. So as the game gets later and later and Koikfa gets bigger and bigger, now losing yet another tower, they only have a tier 2 mid that can really serve as any semblance of map control. And that in and of itself has been the biggest thing that Liquid has accomplished in these first 30 minutes. And again, Virtus.Pro, despite leading this game 10-4 in terms of kills, just has not translated those kills to anything tangible.
We're soon going to have an Abyssal up for, ooh, man, Koikfa, man, he's playing a very, very dangerous game because now he's going Dagon, and he may get caught out because of that.
NS caught out, drops a Static Storm, but will be right-click down. And had some help on the way, but like you said, Koikfa just, he plays, he YOLOs it. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. I hate to use cliches, but more than usual.
This gives him like the sort of offensive power to be able to pop Morphling, who's going to be very, very low health because he's going shotgun build, so he's maxing out this agility. At the same time, if he gets caught out by the Morphling and gets hit by that Ethereal Blade, he can't instantly BKB. The defensive choice would be BKB. Koikfa thinks he can outplay this and use that shotgun to a disadvantage to Morphling and try and pop him with the Dagon. So Koikfa going the more aggressive and offensive build, and with his Tinker, I think it's the perfect choice just because his positioning and honestly his micromanagement of his own hero is beautiful. It's wonderful to watch. So I think this is the right decision for him. Other players, though, might have thought about a more defensive pickup like a BKB, so you can intercept that shotgun combo and pop it between the Ethereal Blade and the rest of the nukes coming out.
Yep. Something worth mentioning, too, as a situational pickup, and we saw this last week, the pickup of Crystal Maiden, picking up the Diffusal just to purge off the Hex and just trying to mitigate what Scythe of Ice is going to be able to do in terms of effect in these team fights. And, you know, this is one of those games, the later this game goes for Team Liquid, I feel like there's a very high probability that all of their supports, I mean, we already see Chen again on his way to a Scythe of Ice, and he's actually getting remarkably close. Already has up the Ultimate Orb, plus 3,000 gold tucked away, could buy the Mystic Staff right now if he wanted it. But chances are, hang on, we're going to have a lasso, dragging back TC, and that is a gigantic pickup for them. He's down for 60 seconds, and he does have buyback, but unless he wants to spend it, this is for sure going to be a tier 2 down.
Yeah, that was just a beautiful play. They sat very, very far back and let Smile go off the map and position himself for those teleports. Whether it was Tinker, whether it was some other hero, he was going to be able to ensure them some good advantage. And now they have control of this tier 2. Like, that's what I was talking about. They have control, right? Nobody else is coming in to stop this, because if they do, they're just going to instantly go down. So that means yet another tier 2. When you have that positioning, that advantage, you're going to be able to claim these towers. Way 2, though, has to teleport out.
Oh, they got him with the frostbite just at the last second from the high ground. Showed him right place, right time. Taking a look at the Tinker, he continues to build damage, though. He's up to level 3 Dagon now. 600 damage. They are going to track down the familiars as well. But suddenly, that advantage that Liquid had, and what I was harping on about the most important thing they had accomplished, we're beginning to see that melt away a little bit now. Virtus.Pro not only getting a kill, but getting a tower and then getting a free one out of mid. And we're beginning to see that gold graph nosedive. And this is the difference in what they should have been doing earlier, or would have wanted to do earlier. And yeah, they're putting themselves in a good position moving ahead. And finally, God, when you look at the KDs, God has been an influence, make no mistake about it. He's 5-1-5, but he hasn't been as big an influence as I think they would have liked. But now getting more involved and beginning to hook up more with his team as a group, we're beginning to see the power of the synergy between this composition of heroes.
Yeah, this is interesting, the fact that he chose to go for a BKB, going a more defensive build rather than, I mean, most of the time people choose to go all in on that offense for Ember Spirit, and I think sometimes that's good. This is one of those situations where it might have been okay, where he could have just had the opportunity to maybe just one-shot the Tinker, or at least put him very, very low with one sleight of fist, but he has to be aware of this constant disable coming out from Scythe of Ice. So if he gets just one opportunity to be able to pop that BKB and intercept that combo, it's obviously going to be worth it. It's just a bit more defensive pickup than I would have thought he would have gone for. But I suppose he's got Illidan for that kind of offense. Right. They know they're dealing with this constant aggression from Liquid. If they can just kind of hold out, both Morphling and the Ember Spirit are going to be terrors in the late game, because both of them have the capacity to just kind of one-shot heroes.
Well, what it comes down to is, in terms of BKBs and Magic community and so on, take a look at Liquid's lineup. Where's their damage coming from? I mean, it's really only two sources. You're getting physical DPS out of the Lifestealer and Magic DPS out of Koikva. And just being able to take away half of that, suddenly you have one hero who's easily kiteable, that is going to have to do a lot of work during the duration of that BKB. Otherwise, Ember Spirit just stays up. He continues to burn you down. With his Flame Guard, he continues to spam out Sleight of Fist, or just right-click you. I mean, at this point, his right-click is not negligible, with the armor reduction from the Desolator, as well as just base damage of around 170-ish, plus 2,100 gold in the bank. I mean, he's going to be a verifiable right-click threat, especially when you factor in his ability to move around and focus targets with his ultimate, with Fire Remnant. So, but yeah, 34 minutes in, even though, just looking at the scoreboard, 12-5, you would think Virtus.Pro would be in the lead. They're actually not in terms of gold. But they have cut that down. They've cut it almost in half now from where Liquid was. So very much anybody's game. If they can continue to bring down these remaining tier 1s and tier 2s for Team Liquid, I actually feel like Virtus.Pro has a chance to position themselves as the team with the advantage moving ahead to 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to that big initiation. So we'll have to see. Eventually, we will get into some of these clashes. They're even just letting Aegis burn out. Both teams just willing to let this game kind of move on. We've already seen how Liquid take this in the late game. Very, 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 like, the control. You look at this traditionally, and you go Lifestealer, right? Not a strong late game hero. More mid-game oriented. Beastmaster, good aura, good for late game. But Lockdown and everything else, but isn't really a good semi-carry damage dealer. And then you've got Tinker, who you go, yeah, you could definitely micromanage that hero to be useful. You've got that sort of stun lock with Scythe of Ice constantly being thrown down. But it takes truly a master to take him into late game and really, really be super effective. Meanwhile, Virtus.Pro, they have much more standard, like Ember Spirit, Morphling. Both of those, you automatically go, yeah, late game. There's a lot of good late game there. But I like what Liquid are doing to kind of mitigate that. Fluff may get caught out, though, as Illidan getting close enough, but he doesn't have Ethereal up just yet. I'm
a little shocked that Fluff actually decided to get a Linken's instead.
I love that, yeah.
I mean, it's... I feel like Lockdown's what they really needed, though. And for the cost of a Linken's, he could have had it. I mean, he had Midas. And I wonder if they're going to regret that. I mean, Fluff so far hasn't been a gigantic influence. He's done his job, make no mistake, but they've done a really solid job of taking away the gimmick from Virtus.Pro. Even when the ganks did work, there was usually some counter, like a reprisal kill or something coming out of Virtus.Pro. So they did a good job there. And I just worry so much that they're going to really wish they had one more way to try and lock these heroes down, especially as the BKBs are all developed out now. BKB done on Morphling, BKB done on Ember Spirit, Batrider BKB's done. Disruptor, he doesn't have one, but he's actually a little bit tankier, you'd think, picking up a casual Vit booster and sitting at around 1,200 HP. And with so much mobility, and when we were going through the draft for the very first time, we looked at the mobility inherent in Virtus.Pro's lineup and identified it as one of their biggest strengths. So why moving ahead now when you have a relatively stationary hero like Chen, who's really only going to give you so much, maybe a little bit of burst, he's going to give you Hand of God. Him surviving these fights, I don't feel like is nearly as important as him being able to just get a Scythe of Ice off, pop a Hand of God about 5 seconds into a fight once some damage has been done, and then try to micro your creeps afterwards. And I wonder if they're going to end up regretting that choice.
Yeah, I mean, additional lockdown is always going to be helpful, and that's probably his next choice of item. But I personally really like the Lincolns because it means it's one more late game item that they're planning ahead for. Like Virtus.Pro, like the shotgun, Morphling, and everything else aside, that's just one more thing to be able to intercept that whole entire shotgun combo. So even if it, like, for example, it just stopped Chen from dying there, and that was a small thing, but I think the biggest thing is going to be him putting it on some of these heroes. You've also got the fact that Chen is also... Normally, Chen isn't really that strong late game because his send back isn't really that big of a deal. Like, it's his biggest part of the late game. Is his heal begins to drop off. Everything else about Chen kind of drops off. His nukes, his increased damage from penitence, all those sort of things aren't really that good late game. His send back is often his biggest thing. It's even better when you have this Boots of Travel strategy coming out from Liquid, where especially the hero like Tinker, if he gets caught out, just throwing a send back and then a Lincoln's on him to try and intercept the combo or anything else. I think that's just sort of one more late game item that he can help out the Tinker and be able to put that buff on him without Tinker having to buy that item himself, because he's still going to want a BKB. He's still going to want like a Shiva's maybe is his last item to replace Soul Ring and his bottle. Those sort of things. He can't have all the items. So I think most of the part, I think Chen is picking up to be able to help out some of the other heroes, mainly in my mind, the Tinker.
Yeah, no, it could go. I totally agree with you. I mean, being able to put it onto the Tinker in particular certainly helps a lot. It's just a question of to me, a defensive posture with this kind of a team up against what I think we can all agree is superior late game potential. It's hard. It's hard to get behind it for me. But nonetheless, that's why I don't play professional Dota. That's why I only talk about it. We'll find out which team is going to be able to get the job done. And again, with 36 minutes in, still very much anyone's game. You're talking less than 2,500 gold separating these two teams at this point. The experience, right around 4,000 for Virtus.Pro. So at this stage of the game, those are very negligible amounts, and so much going to come down to initiation. And honestly, I think Virtus.Pro, they're going to be relying extremely heavily on the bat being able to lasso the Lifestealer right off the bat. And of course, you can mitigate that if you're Team Liquid just by infesting the Lifestealer into the Beastmaster early on. So yeah, Virtus.Pro trying to get the jump with smoke once again, as they have smoked a few here near the Dire Side Secret Shop. Looks like they're going to head back through their own jungle.
Yeah, this is something that any sort of aggression right now. They know Roshan's going to be coming up soon, so if they can find a pickoff and set up for it, that's perfect. And looks like they might find way too super lucky there, just because one glimpse would have stopped him from getting out. But still, I love the way that Virtus.Pro are spreading out with their smoke, though, because you got Smile going top here. Unfortunately, he doesn't have anybody to be able to back this aggression up.
And Quakebup with eyes on Smile.
No.
Oh, there he is, though. Hand of God spit, not going to matter. BKB was popped by Illidan just to ensure the kill. That's a big pick off for him, taking him off of the map now for 60 seconds. And yeah, I mean, it's the damage output of Illidan is just beginning to become absurd. He's already got up another ultimate orb, and obviously could do something really wonky, but chances are he's going to be on his way to a Scotty. Would really like that pickup out of him, and this is beginning to feel really chancy for Team Liquid. I'm really not liking the way that things turned around. I felt like they were in such good position right at 30 minutes with their map control and the way they had managed to prevent Virtus.Pro from turning kills into other verifiable gains. But now Illidan has just reached that point of critical mass. You know, the flood has started and the dam's beginning to creak a little bit under the pressure.
Yeah, you know, I completely missed that replicate. I was like, they spread out good, right? Batrider's going to be able to set something up, and I was like, where's that replicate? But apparently I just completely missed it, and that was perfect by Virtus.Pro. Now with those pickoffs, Tinker's gone. They set up on the tier 3, right? No March of the Machine's going to be coming down, harassing them this early, and they could start doing a little bit of damage, and maybe, I mean, they'd love to be able to find a pickoff right now, but Liquid realized that they just play passive. Virtus.Pro, without that pickoff, though, probably going to start setting up for Roshan, and that's going to be your next big clash, I feel. The first couple of Aegises that go down, not that big of a deal, but I think this one is the one that kind of breaks Liquid's back and allows Virtus.Pro to just kind of suicide with the Morphling in order to kill one hero, and then they're set up for a really good fight uphill. So I think they have to contest the Aegis, but we'll have to see how they do it. I mean, it could be that they just try and straight up man fight for the 5v5. Do they try and go for the sneaky, like, blink in and just kind of grab the Aegis or pick off one hero and go for split push? You know, there are different ways that Liquid can go for that kind of team fight that you know is going to occur around Roshpit. So we'll have to see what they do, but for now, it's just a straight up smoke, go for a pickoff. Koifa, though, they didn't quite find it. Nobody moved far enough forward for Koifa and Lifestealer to find anything. Fluff, on the other hand, is going to get caught out.
Yep. Lassoed back. Bulba was there. He decides to go ahead and retreat. So that's an unstoppable streak for God. Koifa, with the passenger, decides to go ahead and clear out and head elsewhere. And Virtus.Pro most likely just secured themselves a free Aegis there. And that's actually an Atos done on the Disruptor now. I really love that pickup for Virtus.Pro. It accomplishes two things. One, they can use it to pop the Lincolns. And two, hey, it's a Disruptor. Why not make him a little bit more survivable? And holy crap, they managed to track down a kill elsewhere on the map. Illidan. I didn't even see how that happened, to be honest. I was actually watching the Disruptor, and I didn't expect Liquid to get outmaneuvered that badly. Nonetheless, with Koifa down, yeah, this is not just a free Aegis. This is an Aegis plus a pretty big bonus.
Yeah, you know, I thought they were just going to go for split pushing. What they had is the Batrider had illusions and they had a replicate. So you look at that and you go, you know, you only show up 2 of those illusions. You go, okay, there's just illusion rune, right? And you don't actually expect one of them to be a replicate. Or you think it's a real Batrider if all 3 are there. Right. And so it's just kind of this sort of trap that all of a sudden Morphling shows up and instantly one-shots a hero. And even, it goes to show, TC, like, he didn't have quite enough. Like, he's still kind of a little bit far behind. He has the Abyssal, but he doesn't quite yet have the AC. And without that Assault Cuirass, he just doesn't do nearly enough damage to be able to pop Illidan before that Strength Morph kind of pretty much outdoes him. So he needs to be able to have some of that minus armor to be able to contribute if he's going to be a factor as a semi-carry. Right now, it's just Tinker. It's just Tinker and his magic damage that is keeping Liquid in the game. Eventually, Lifestealer will get to that point. However, Morphling is looking very, very scary now with that Scotty and an Aegis. This is going to be how Virtus.Pro go uphill now, as they just... even if they can't find a pickoff outside the base, it means Morphling can just get really, really aggressive, go full agility, and just jump in and try and pop one hero and not have to worry about whether or not he gets out, because they just have that Aegis to be able to rely on. He goes down, the rest of his team surges forward, and they take control of the base.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, it is Virtus.Pro's game to win or to lose. Taking a look at the goal graph, you can actually see from the moment the horn blew, this is the first time Virtus.Pro has led this game. The experience is well in their favor as well, but so much of that concentrated entirely on the Morphling. I mean, Morphling sitting at 24,000 roughly net worth, and yeah, I mean, whenever you look at their overall gold lead, that basically accounts. The difference between Illidan and Tinker accounts for pretty much the overall gold differential. So in the meantime, there's a roar on Illidan. Can they pick him off? Big kill if they can, and they do pop the Aegis. And behind the fight, though, we see Way2 caught out. They will be able to bring him down. Here comes Morph back up and looking for trouble. Pop the BKB. Now re-engaging on the NS. NS going to be force-staffed and able to teleport away. TC going to work now on Smile. Illidan, though, just continuing to peck away and unable to bring down Smile before he ends up dropping. So Virtus.Pro, even though they lost the Aegis, they don't lose a whole lot more. And Bulba spotted out by God. This is going to be another pickoff going the way of VP. And this is looking very unfortunate and grim right now for Liquid. And Koikva doing what he can. I mean, he could have came into the fight, but it was a lost engagement for the most part. But just trying to split push otherwise and trying to hopefully extend this game one form, fashion, or another. As it stands, though, Illidan way too big, doesn't have the Aegis, but was handed the cheese by Jodam. So long as he's on top of his micro, he'll be in good shape. And yeah, tier 3 about to drop. Taking a look at the buybacks, we can see there is no buyback for TC, so he's down for the full duration regardless. Bulba, Sans buyback as well.
Yeah, just so close to it too, but without the Lifestealer, I don't think they could fight this. So
no.
Virtus.Pro did a very, very good job there. Liquid tried to go for the pickoff, but again, the Aegis up on Morphling made all the difference, where they blew so much killing Illidan the first time that they didn't have anything else. They had to back up with Koifa, and then from there, like, you've Boots had traveled in. Where you're supposed to go from there? Like, Beastmaster and the Lifestealer were just kind of stranded out of nowhere. Well, Koifa was like, see you guys, and going back to the base. Like, they had nowhere else to go from that point onward. They had to be able to fight. They had to use that opportunity where Morphling's down to try and fight the rest of Virtus.Pro, gain an advantage there, and leave Morphling when he comes back with no other allies to use. But they just didn't have anything left in the bank. They had so much single target, and they blew it all on that Morphling that when it came to fighting the rest of Virtus.Pro, they couldn't do it. So instead, they just try and kite him around and move around and try and escape. But obviously, they were never going to get away. They were fairly well surrounded. But top, though, Illidan, this is big.
Yep, bringing him down. They already lost the racks, but this is going to open them up an opportunity to try to make something happen at top. At most, they'll probably push and try to force a buyback. I don't know if they're going to overcommit to this. And this is where, again, the immobility of this Chen kind of comes into play. They got to wait on him to hook up before they can really try to make anything happen as 5. They will collapse on the tier 2 here in mid. This is the last outer tier tower remaining for Virtus.Pro. So at the very least, clearing the map of its last vestiges of defenses. And another 60 seconds until Illidan's back up. He's probably going to have to buy back here.
Yeah, if Liquid go uphill, he'll be forced into a buyback. However, Virtus.Pro can use that advantage and try and bait Liquid into the base a little bit, force the engagement with Morphling buying back and teleporting in and being in a good position to just rock one hero. But I'm surprised they haven't gone for it yet. Maybe they're just waiting for the blink in of Batrider, or maybe they feel that the spam coming out from Sleight of Fizz is going to be enough, and they don't have to buy back on Morphling. It's tough to push in to a good Sleight of Fizz combo.
Ooh. They managed to catch Smile, but Koikva locked down. Link is going to be popped. Good Static Storm, though. Caught him out, and he got caught with the Scythe device. If they bring Koikva down, and they do, this fight falling apart now for Liquid, and Bulba forced to spin the Roar just to try to escape. Not going to be the case, as God just continues to do the job well. And he is doing the definition of a semi-carry's job. When the Morphling's not around, be it because he's down or be it because he's elsewhere, he has just done his job to utter perfection. And you can see he's 9-1-6. And immediately, Lifestealer's forced to buy back. Boots of Travel picked up by Jodam in the meantime. That's 2 sets of boss that are up. And moving down onto this tier 3, TC going to try to defend it as best he can. But Koikva, even though he was there, not enough. TC sent back to base by Chen. They got the Scythe of Vice and the big nuke out, but way too next to be finished up by Illidan. Koikva gonna be lassoed. That's probably gonna be that. With Koikva down, TC, with the Lincolns or not, he's just eating too much damage, forced to infest into a creep just to get back to base and survive. Kinetic Field actually did catch TC and way too, but in the end, it doesn't matter, as they're just going to go right to work on the tier 4s. Bulba has a refresher up, but it's just a little too little, a little too late. 2 sets of racks down, 1 tier 4 down, soon to be 2. And Virtus.Pro, I mean, honestly, I felt like Liquid was in really good shape for a particular window of time, and they were just unable to execute. Bulba actually roars Smile as he blinked in, but the GGs are called in the meantime, and it's going to be Virtus.Pro getting past Team Liquid and hanging a goose egg on them 2-0 in 2 excellent games that honestly Liquid was in both of these games. I just feel like Virtus.Pro, when it mattered the most, was able to execute, and what a performance coming out of God here. I mean, when you look at the final box scores, you can see Illidan finished 8-1-6, so you're going to say he played well. But God's 10-1 to just hold this game together for them, utterly phenomenal.
Yeah, this is Virtus.Pro. They've been looking like hot and cold constantly. Ever since they came together as a team, they first came onto the scene, it was like, look at these names, they look incredible, a lot of old school players, maybe this is the top CIS team. And then they just kind of fell apart. They haven't been looking good. Last 2 weeks, I would say, they've been looking so much better, and this is a perfect example of Virtus.Pro taking that next level. I think they countered Liquid in both games beautifully with the Drow Ranger pickup, a little bit experimental. We haven't seen a whole lot. Did wonderful against the Luna. This game, though, pick up a high amount of mobility and really, really ensuring that they do take late game, as opposed to what happened last time with just the Ember Spirit trying to carry it. With both the Morphling and the Ember Spirit, they had such a late game advantage that they were able to just kind of push this game out and make sure that they didn't get picked off too often, or and even get aggressive on their own, and really use their mobility to stay one step ahead of Liquid and just take. I mean, it could have been so close, too. Like, both teams had such good pickoff potential, and that's all that matters in late game, is being able to take down one hero very quickly and then be able to move on from there. Like, if they'd been able to kill Morphling again without a buyback, that could have been Liquid ending the game. So it was a super, super close series, despite the fact that, you know, it felt like it was kind of slow and drawn out, and the kill score doesn't really necessarily reflect that. It was actually very, very close for both teams in both Game 1 and Game 2. So really a big shout out to Virtus.Pro, though. They are looking like they're improving every single day.
Oh, yeah. And when you look at this team, I mean, NS, Illidan, God, I mean, Smile, whenever these guys are all on the same day, they are so ridiculously good. I mean, there's so much talent, so much experience. Took them a little while to find their rhythm, but I believe we're beginning to see them fall into step. And, you know, you saw flashes of them before, but, you know, even looking back to CIS Carnage, which wasn't that long ago, they underperformed, and, you know, they've just had some struggles. But now, again, a very strong performance against Team Liquid. Now the next step is, can they begin to do this every single day against the best teams? And yeah, I'm excited to find out what the answer to that's going to be. But I just want to remind you before we start doing our sign-offs, you said you were going to give away one stream key.
Indeed.
One giveaway key on stream for our listeners.
Indeed, I was just about to lead into that. We want to be able to thank Dota 2 Lounge for doing this. They're basically giving us 3 different codes every single day. We stream Dota 2 Champions League in order to give out to you guys. Each code is redeemable for 10 rares. So all you have to do is go to Dota2Lounge.com/giveaway, and you can go in, and if you're the first to put in the code, you're going to be able to claim those 10 free rares. So we're going to give away that code right now, so put that in. And if you don't get this code that we're giving away on air, we have another 2 codes that we're going to be giving away on my Twitter, @DotaCapitalist, and, of course, on Ayesee's Twitter, which is @Ayesee, AYESEE. So even if you don't get this code right here, you do have 2 other opportunities. So the code is going to be MKLU. Put that in, and if you're the first person, you get 10 free rares. And if you didn't get that, another 2 opportunities coming up after this broadcast. AC, thank you so much for joining me, man. Do you have any last words to give away as we close up this stream?
Well, just a couple of things to make mention of. Of course, make sure you check out, if you haven't heard yet, make sure you check out all of the new options made available by the D2CL so far as unlockable stretch goals, I think is what you're supposed to call it, in terms of ticket sales. Some really exciting stuff going on with that. And I just finished doing the voiceover for the new promotional video for that. So if you don't know about that, make sure you check it out over at d2cl.org. Also, congratulations to ESL, who just announced a huge Dota tournament coming up soon. And I'm going to throw you to OnGamers for that. OnGamers.com. They have a great write-up about that done by Slasher and Cyborg Map. Going to be kind of a big deal, so make sure you check them out as well. Thank you so much, my friend, for having me on. And, of course, my thanks to Join Dota and D2CL for allowing me to be a part of these great matches. And you and I got a couple more best of threes this week at least, and maybe some more in the future. But for now, hell of a series and a hell of a cast. Thank you, my friend.
Yep, thank you, man. I'm just so excited that you brought up ESL because, man, we have been we've been telling people, right? The year of Join Dota, this year of Join Dota, we're going to be having big things coming up, and that's just another thing. Like now, ESL is announcing. You guys thought we were done announcing stuff? No. We are announcing ESL Frankfurt. Oh my goodness, I've been holding that in for so long, and then like during Game 1, I saw that went up in between Game 1 and Game 2, and I was like, oh man. That's I wish I wasn't streaming right now so I could, go on Twitter and talk about that sort of thing. But super, super exciting. But we have other stuff going on right now for Join Dota. Go over to joindota.com. We do have the MLG TKO tournament, which is running as we speak. I'm actually going to be hopping over to that stream now and joining Toby Wan for a cast or two, and then I'll actually be taking over the stream as that guy's got to go home because he's got Cinecup in the morning. That starts at 11 CET, and guess what? That's not the end of it. Like, we still have more announcements to make after this.
You guys are freaking busy, man. Busy. I got to admit, I mean, the Join Dota, obviously one of the biggest names in Dota, and it made me so happy to see you make your way over to work under their flag. But you guys have just been killing it so far through 2014, and I think I speak for the whole community and how impressed we are at the contributions that were made before. But what you guys have managed to do so far in these early months, good for you guys. Really, really a lot of great content, and you do a great job.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's going to be a very, very busy year. It was just kind of like we talking about it. It was like, yeah, Join Dota stagnated 2014, right? 2014, we're really going to ramp it up and get back to where we once were. And Toby's been doing a lot of work. A lot of the guys have been doing so much to set everything up. So we're going to have a full casting schedule, man. I have no idea how either one of us. We're pretty much like, we're just going to be passing each other by at the office. Like, every day I'm going to be working for 16 hours. He's going to be working for 16. I'll be on the night shift. He'll be on the morning shift. And we'll just be passing each other. Hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, I had all XYZ going on. So many games. But
to and from the coffee machine, right? That's usually how it goes.
Yep, that's exactly how it's going to be. So, yeah, guys, you have more games to check out. JoinDota.com. We have MLG TKO tournament that's going on. Be sure to check that out. And as well, don't forget, more rares giveaway thanks to Dota 2 Lounge. Big shout out to the Dota 2 Champion League guys, all the admins and everything that they're doing. Wonderful work. And of course, we're going to go play that stretch goal video. We'll be playing that once again right after this. So thank you so much for tuning in, and good night.
The Dota 2 Champions League is proud to present our new unlockable bonus system.